Okay, so here we are. This is a brand new implementation. It really hasn't spent a whole lot. You can see we spent just a little over $200. We are still fine-tuning the isolation campaign on this particular account, and that takes a few weeks. We do have ad group by ad group, and again, we're looking at search impression share top, which is the 1 to 4 position, and we're slowly amplifying the bids. Remember, we have, because it's a brand new campaign, we have quality scores that need to be built up, and you can do it slowly, or if you got a lot of budget, then you can actually just juice the budget and overpay basically for CPCs, because ad rank equals your CPC bid times quality score. So if it's a brand new campaign and your quality score is 1, then you have to make up for, in order to get the ad rank where it needs to be, you have to bid higher, right? And then you can ease off after your quality scores go up. So in this particular case, we're working within a pretty conservative budget, right? And we're just gradually optimizing this particular campaign. So you can see in this case, the isolation campaign has only spent a little over $200. It does have one conversion at this point, but that's really not what we're focusing on so much. We're trying to really get the ad groups into, or the distinct keywords that we have in these ad groups, into the proper page position, and again, it's related to bid. Okay, so let's take a look at that. Let's go right into the isolation campaign, and I'll show you the structure. Okay, so remember all that keyword research that was part of that Google Doc, and with all the columns and everything. So those keywords and the campaign and ad group structure that were also within, within its respective column, that all got moved into the Google Ads Editor. The final changes were made, the final enhancements to these campaigns were made in the Google Ads Editor, such as adding all of the different assets. Sometimes we add audiences, or we preload with audiences, observational audiences as well. But the point is, it gets moved into Google Ads, and this is what you see as a result of the build. Okay, so this is, again, the isolation campaign. So the keywords that show the most promise for conversion, right? And they are all within these very defined, thematically developed ad groups. What we're looking at here, this is the reason this column is front and center, is because search impression share top, which is the 1 to 4 position, is what we're really looking at, right? So we want to make sure, so this is, as you can see, the impressions you received in the top location of the search results divided by estimated number of impressions you were eligible to receive in that top location. All right, so this is something that we look at very carefully, and our goal, again, depending on how expensive it is, our goal typically, if we're able to make sense of the numbers, and again, we're going back to like customer lifetime value and average cost per click per keyword. But when we do the math and we're seeing like what is that versus what is the cost versus the benefit, which is your patient lifetime value for physical therapy, as long as the benefit exceeds the cost, then we can get pretty aggressive with these bids. And we try to get the search impression share top, usually in the 80% range, somewhere in there. And again, it really depends, but most of the time that's kind of where we're aiming an account, because then we can dominate that top position for the keywords that matter to the physical therapy practice. Okay, now physical therapy near me, this one has quite a few keywords actually. I mean, it's got a handful, right? So this is what we're talking about. It can be 4 or it can be 10, right? It doesn't, in this particular case, what you want to see is that the keywords here are very similar. So these are all near me, around me, near me, very similar, or close by, right? So it's, in fact, some of them, do they all need to be in there? Probably not, because Google is smart enough to know that close by and near me are the same thing. But again, we're just testing different things and watching the numbers. And at some point, we might end up pausing some of these. But again, looking now at the keyword level, we're looking at the granularity of the data here. We're looking at a bunch of different things. We're looking at search impression share top, which is, again, the 1 to 4 position. We are looking at search impression share absolute top, which is the number 1 position, and we're looking at overall search impression share, and then search impression share lost due to ad rank. And this is also important to look at, because remember, going back to that ad rank formula of CPC bid times quality score. You want to see if you're in the game. Are you actually bidding high enough to be in the auction at the time that somebody's doing a search? So we're looking at all of these different columns as we're continuously tightening the screws and making the search more and more valuable for the client over time. We looked at the isolation campaign. We looked at the thematically developed out ad groups. We looked at the keywords. So now we take that all the way through to the ad copy. Now you can see here, this is the ad copy for physical therapy near me. And you can see the ad itself includes physical therapy near you. Now these ads are the responsive ads. So they have 15 different headlines, right? That's a lot of headlines. We usually leave one unhindered. So we're not pinning any of the headlines at all. We're letting Google do whatever it wants with those particular headlines. And this is why we have an ad strength of excellent here, okay? So, but we also take another copy and then we pin the headline that matches the theme of the ad group, which is why you see physical therapy near you. This one is pinned in the #1 position, but the side, I mean, what happens as a result of that is that a lot of times we get marked poor because Google doesn't like pinning, right? So, but it doesn't matter because this has nothing to do with quality score. We let these run for a while. We do look at how the headlines are performing. We move things in and out constantly as we're testing, and you should definitely do the same because it is without a doubt a great way to be able to test different headlines. You do have, like I said, 15 different headlines, so we'll talk about that in another video, how that's developed out, but you can see what works. What's great is you can see what works and what doesn't. If you're using these headlines elsewhere, this can inform marketing in other areas as well, like what actually resonates with your core market when they're doing searches that are very relevant to any problem that they're trying to alleviate, okay? Okay, so like I mentioned, this is a brand new account. The isolation hasn't been running that long at all. It hasn't spent that much. So it's going to take us a while to get to where we need to be, but I just want to jump forward and we're going to pretend. Let's say that this has been running for a month or two and we have the number of conversions that we need, 30 to 50 conversions in the account. They're quality conversions because everything in the isolation campaign is exact match, right? So these should be quality conversions. We're talking about form submissions, phone calls for the most part. Once we have those conversions in the account, then we start in on the physical therapy exploration. Okay, so remember we have two different campaign types: isolation with the exact match keywords, and then once we get the conversion data in the account, then we take basically a copy of the isolation account or isolation campaign and we create an exploration campaign. The exploration campaign is set to maximize conversions with the target CPA. And it's also set to broad match, right? And I mentioned that before, like broad match, usually you stay clear from it unless you've got high margin product and a huge budget, you know, but in this particular case, what we're doing is we're scraping the bottom of the funnel, that inside out approach. The inside is the isolation campaign. The outside of the bottom of the funnel, those weird little obscure long tail keywords that still have high buying intent. That's what funnels through the exploration campaign. Okay, so let's take a look at the exploration campaign. Okay, so the exploration campaign, you can see in this one is pending and under review because it is brand new, but the exploration campaign just has a single ad group. That's all you need. And it has a target CPA of 250, and that's an arbitrary value that was just plugged in today. But you should know in time what your target CPA is, and that's exactly what you would put into here, right? Because you've been running exact match for a while, you're going to have a bunch of conversions. You'll be able to figure out what your target cost per acquisition is and use that number within this particular campaign. So when I go into physical therapy, you're going to see just a handful of keywords. In this particular case, we're just doing 3 keywords. Every single one of these keywords represents a gigantic audience, a gigantic inflow of searches, of search terms. So you got to be careful. Like if I were to load this up with 20 different keywords, we'd be inundated with just a bunch of junk usually. So you want to be very slow and methodical. Maybe do 3 to 5 keywords. In this particular case, we're saying, okay, these are the keywords that perform best in the isolation campaign. We're going to bring them over into the exploration campaign and then combined with max conversions with the TCPA, that acts as the guardrails on the broad match terms, so you're able to expand out the targeting, but use that target CPA and maximize conversions to find more quality conversions that are outside of the middle of the bottom of the funnel. And that's really key. When we look at the ad copy, pretty much the same as the other. In fact, it's identical. We took a copy of the isolation campaign, made an adjustment, turned it into a target CPA campaign with maximized conversions, and then just stripped it down, and we're only focusing on what is tried and true in the isolation campaign in terms of the keywords that have performed. Okay, so that's 3 keywords, right? So we monitor this over time. If we don't have enough volume, then we add other keywords. And that's how that works. So that concludes the section of the inside out approach, where we have isolation and exploration to really target all of the types of searches that are happening at in the high intent section of the funnel, the bottom of the funnel. Now, if you're finding value in this, again, please hit that like button. This is a brand new channel. I probably barely have any likes. So I want to continue making content like this, and just hitting the like button would really help me out considerably. So please do that. And we're going to go on to the next video where we talk about ad copy. See you soon.